Good morning, and thank you for being here with our last Friday in the Women in Construction Month. So excited to be able to be here today. The subject that we are going to be talking about today are men working with women in the construction industry, and then we're going to touch a little bit on women working with women in the construction industry. So thank you very much for being here. Make sure that you put hi in the comments so that I know that it's you that's in here. And any questions that you have, also put in the comments, just so you're aware. I can only see anything that's really happening on LinkedIn based on the StreamYard that I'm using. But I look forward to reading all of your comments afterwards and being able to respond. So let's just talk about this. Men versus women. It really isn't a versus women. So I want to clear that up right up front. And the words that we use in construction are so incredibly important. We need to understand that these words have definitions that are able to be interpreted differently by a number of different people. And so making sure that you're using words as close to the identified definition as possible is going to be really important. So when we're talking about men versus women, that puts up a competitive thing right up front, right? And that's not what it is. It's men are different than women, and women are different than men. Now, I know that that seems obvious, but a lot of times when we're going through the conversations and we're not using words appropriately, it starts making it seem as though women are supposed to be competing against men in the construction industry, which has been a male-dominated field. Now, I like to use the word male majority field because there's definitely more men in construction, but there's more men in most corporations, most businesses. And so this is not just common to the construction industry where women have had to claw and fight their way through the doors. And there really wasn't any reason for us having to really fight that hard, with the exception of in construction, it really has been dominated by physical contribution and being able to physically do the work. And although women are perfectly capable of being able to accomplish tasks that men do, there are certain tasks that obviously we're not going to be able to do as well because we are not as strong and we're not capable of being able to do certain things just because of physically how we are created. And so I'm not going to talk about God a whole lot in this, but obviously there is a purpose for the way that we're created. And this creation starts with what I like to refer to as traditional skill sets. So those traditional roles that we've been performing in life since the beginning of time have created within us a DNA structure that has followed the opportunity to be able to complete roles and responsibilities that were most common to that particular gender. And so men have traditionally been there to protect and to provide. And in that provision is a measure of value in the amount of production that a man can get done. So how much a man can get done in a day, it's going to measure value to him and to others of his capabilities. And so again, this is one of those eye in the beholder, because we often know that there's a lot of things that get done behind the curtain that can't be measured by visually seeing what's been done. But the pride to be able to stand back from our work and be able to see the accomplishment is an easy measure of value. And so with women, that measure of value has been much more difficult to really identify, because while men were providing protection and production, women were responsible for everything else. And so we nurtured, we created, building the community, working together, being able to really organize, manage, and being able to gather the fruits and the medicines that were going to be needed. We created the meals. We took care of the cleaning and took care of the clothes. So we kind of did everything else. And then we had World War II, which was the need for women to step up into the Industrial Revolution in order to be able to take the place of our men who were protecting us. And so we had to start doing a lot of the roles and responsibilities that men had typically done that did require a lot of physicality in those. And when we were introduced to that, we started recognizing that when we're moving with our hands and our body, there's some chemical reactions that really set place within us that give us satisfaction out of being able to perform that kind of work. And so this introduced an opportunity for women to appreciate how we can then be a contribution to the trades. Well, now we're in the golden age revolution. And so there's a much different need for women in the construction industry. We still have powerful women who are in the trades and are working in those every day, have a very skilled eye, a creative eye, a problem-solving, critical thinking eye in order to be able to get things done. But what we also have is this flexibility and adaptability of being able to contribute to the community. And so the skill sets that women naturally bring to a construction industry are going to be able to work better with innovation and the different things that construction is starting to evolve to, in order to be able to still work on the backs of those that are out in the field, but being able to implement more technology and more innovation to create more efficiency and productivity in our workforce. And so when we're talking about men working with women, I think that for the most part, we work as a common awareness that we need to be polite to each other, we need to be respectful, but there's just a little bit of a different feel to it when you're working with women as a co-worker versus working with women as you would with your sister or a girlfriend, your mom or wife. And so there are things that we would say to those group of people that might be a little bit more informal and might be a little bit less accepted by those that are our co-workers. And so when we're looking at working with men and women, to be honest with you, I personally pull gender completely out of it. I want to be able to work with the most capable person in that particular role. Obviously, I recognize that they're male or female, and I do miss some of the camaraderie that I used to have with some of my college guy friends where, you know, we were just all rubbing elbows and we were all friends. It's a little bit more difficult to do in a work situation, and being aware of that and the sexual tension that can happen on a work site because of that does make it difficult. But that's only difficult for a short period of time. Once you're able to really put expectations and boundaries in place, then you're able to build a platform where men can be very comfortable being able to interact with you. So as a woman, it is really important that you are explanatory and very vocal about what your boundaries are and making sure that those are clear, which means that when somebody goes over that, you let them know in that moment. And it can be done very nicely, but it still may be taken defensively. And so that's why we also need to be aware of how we are saying things and the words that we are using. Now, I'll just use an example. One of the things that I've heard is, you know, women get upset when the guy comes into the office trailer and he's like, hey, honey, can you make a few copies for me on this Xerox machine? And immediately, the only thing she heard was the word honey. And in that moment, that would have been disrespectful for her to hear that, because she feels that she's in a workplace and that is not an appropriate way to be able to address someone. And men are being drilled through these trainings all of the time. They're getting much better. It's only going to come through kindness and education. And in that moment is an opportunity not to be upset at someone for the way that they've addressed you, but to be able to help them understand how you want to be addressed from there and that point on. And that mini lesson will teach them how to then interact with other women in the future. But what's really important is that I think back to my dad, who he was an amazing man, but he would always treat women like kit gloves. And he would walk into the job site, and he's 6'4", 300 pounds, big, handsome guy. And, hey, honey, can you make me a copy? Well, first off, he doesn't know the first thing about a copy machine, and you're using it every day. So that's why that request was put that way. And secondly, is that was him trying to be respectful. He was trying to be kind and somewhat nurturing in that moment of being able to provide some compassion while he was talking with you, even though the way he did it was not appropriate. And so we just can't be thin-skinned in the construction industry. And we just have to look back and recognize in the moment, what is it that offended me so much? And what can I do in order to ensure that it doesn't happen again? And be able to do that with kindness in this opportunity of educating my coworker. And men, don't call us honey. So that's your lesson. But I'm kidding, but I'm not, right? It's really that opportunity for us to be able to understand engagement with each other. And we can't assume that someone knows how we want to be talked to, or assume that someone knows not to call us by a certain name or what have you. So just making sure that, you're not walking on pins and needles every single time somebody of an opposite sex walks into your workspace, that this is an opportunity for you to learn from somebody in the construction industry that probably has an amazing perspective and different construction knowledge than you do, and that you're able to absorb that from them as they're mentoring and teaching you through this process. So when we are talking about traditional roles, we're really looking at men as being those protectors, providers, because they are using that as a measure of value. Women, we're looking at being very flexible, adaptable, working with the community, communication, nurturing, being able to create meals, being able to gather, being able to really do everything else that is necessary in order to be able to keep the flow of what's going on in your community. So the same thing has been happening in the construction industry, but now we're evolving into a technology phase that is going to take some time for adaptability for men to be able to start embracing and implementing some of these tools that they've been able to work without for so long. And so this is going to be a learning curve for everyone. And so it really needs to go back to that thing of don't assume, and give someone the opportunity of being able to gain familiarity with what it is that you're working with or what you're talking with, by simply providing a short summary of the discussion of where you're going or what you're going to be doing. And so we still need men to protect us as women on the job sites. We're looking for men who understand the importance of women in the construction industry. And we're looking for men who are able to stand as, protection barriers in those moments when we're working with other men who are being more resistant to our we've been around for, I've been around for 30 years. So I know women have been in construction for a long time. But when men see another man who is not being respectful, it's more than just men working with women on a construction job site. That individual probably has a problem with women altogether. And so this is a much deeper issue and problem that's not going to be resolved in that moment. But for a man to be able to help, support, and protect the interest of women on a job site is very important. This doesn't mean that I want a man standing in front of me, protecting me every single time somebody comes and whistles or says something that they shouldn't say. This just means that I know that they're there supporting my contribution to the completion of this project, and that they aren't going to treat me that way, and that if necessary, in a side conversation, they're going to also help educate some of those men who may be more resistant to women in the field. This is getting less and less, which is amazing, but we also have to remember that the construction industry is a place for everyone, which means that all levels of education, all levels of work experience, all levels of opportunity are in the construction industry. So we're dealing with a tremendous number of personalities and characters all meshed into one pot, creating these amazing, beautiful projects. So really important for us to be able to lean on the support of our men, and really thankful for all of you who are able to do that. So we also have some tension at times with women working with women in the construction industry. And this goes back to just really understanding that, that we have different energies about our body. And women in the construction industry are typically more of a masculine energy. So I know the word masculine may sound as though it is creating a gender around it, but masculine really is identifying the types of roles and the type of character of a person versus gender. So men can have feminine energy, and they should embrace that, because that feminine energy is going to help them with their communication skills. It's going to help them with their empathy and their compassion, and they are fully capable of being able to do that. But women in the construction industry are heavier in their masculine energy, which usually means that we were tomboys growing up, or we communicate and get along very well with the male energy that is coming from our male counterparts. And so we're able to kid around, joke, we're able to talk and communicate with them on that level. And so when women are working with women, we're going to have a higher vibration resistance against the masculine and feminine energies. And so this creates a competitive aspect. And in that competitive aspect, you can often find this, this thing that we've been taught to do, which is really taught in high school, when you went through cliques and you went through trying to find yourself, find your identity, find who you are. And in that competitive mode in high school, you've created a certain character of yourself, which has now really defined who you are as an adult. And so if you find yourself getting into these competitive aspects of jealousy or clickiness that is going on, then you just want to be able to back off. And we can only control what we can control, which means accountability within ourselves. And if there's just something about the situation that we're not able to fix or change, then we just need to try to remove ourselves from the situation as often as possible. Always want to be around good energy, because likely that person has some other core root issues that are going on with them that make them not a very happy person. And that's probably why they're taking it out on you, and or you have qualities that they wish that they had. And the only way to be able to reduce your ability with those qualities is to try to attack them. And so very important for us to recognize as women that this is a male majority industry, and being solo is a hard place to be. So having encouragement and support of other women and being able to converse with other women in the construction industry is very important, so that we can know when we're worried or something's going on and we're feeling like it's not quite right. We have someone who's in our same shoes that we can bounce that off of. Being able to have strong women role models in the construction industry is just so incredibly important, because in that moment we are able to fill the gap by leaning on some of their experience until we're able to grow our own experiences and learn from our own lessons, and then be able to work forward in this amazing industry. So thank you for being here today. I just really think that it's so incredibly important for us to understand how impactful communication is when working with men and women and women and women. Understanding that the words that you use are so incredibly important, and that we need to recognize that everyone on the job site has their place, and we want the very best people in each of those places. And although gender is something that we can't ignore, it doesn't need to be a focus of what is moving the ball forward. So although we talk a lot in generalities and put men in a box, because men like to do box thinking, which is very black and white, this is part of what creates such productivity and production in them, because they're able to focus and stay very direct, where women are typically a little bit multitaskers. So we have more on our plate, and so our focus gets bounced around a little bit. But these are still characteristics that are valuable to the production of a construction project. Again, they are just different. So in those moments when we need focus and productivity, then the guy on our team may be the one that we want to go to. Also recognizing that although these are large generalities of how men work versus how women work, we need to understand that each of us is capable of being able to gain skills that the other has, that we can then introduce into our own toolbox and be able to create that in our own workflow. So it's not men versus women or women versus women. We're just different. And so thank you very much. So before I end, I'll just go ahead and take a look at your comments and see if there's any questions. You can put any questions that you want in the comment. So hi, Donna. Good to see you. I hope that some of you were able to go to our networking event. And so Building RX with Donna Huntington and Construction Management Online sponsored an event in Sacramento. We had some great great contractors, architects, construction managers who were there to be able to offer opportunities to our construction students and other individuals interested in entering the construction workforce. And so grateful for the turnout and for people being there to support the construction industry. Anthony, good morning. How are you doing? It's good to see you here. And Alfie, he is always so proud of the women that he gets to work with. And again, it is so important for us women to have men like Alfie in our back pocket. These are the people who are going to help educate the entire construction industry, who really can't afford to turn anyone away. We need people in the workforce, and women are a perfect inclusion in that workforce, but so is everyone else. And it's just really a matter of being able to educate everyone that's on the workforce, let everyone understand that everyone has the right to creating a fair career, a stable career, a monetarily valuable career for themselves, so that they can raise their families and they can create a livelihood that means that I'm not having to support or pay taxes for them. So I am very happy for anybody who is willing to work. And I know that the construction industry offers something for everyone. So incredibly grateful for people like Alfie who are here to hire and support women. So before I close it out, again, this is Women in Construction Month. So incredibly grateful for all of the beautiful women, all of the organizations that have been supporting women in construction this month. We know it's not just a monthly thing, right? It's an annual job. and we need to be supporting women year-round, just as we also need to be supporting our men. We're going to be coming up here on health and wellness and mental wellness month, and so it's going to be very important for us to recognize some of the stresses that go along with our construction industry and how important it is for us to be able to support everyone who has a passion for this industry. And so I just want to invite anyone who might be interested, or any ladies who are looking at wanting to have a role model or have an accountability partner who can help you develop confidence in the construction industry, is we're leading our families, we're leading our communities, and we are leading our workforce. But there's really just not anyone leading us through different things that impact women when we're in this male majority industry. It could include relationship struggles, divorce, loneliness. Construction can be very solo, especially if you're on a large construction site with very few women working on that site. We do deal with discrimination all the time, and it is something that is unfortunate, but if we know how to deal with it, it can become a much more manageable issue. We have financial struggles, which makes construction amazing because the opportunity of financial stability in the construction industry is very viable for a woman to be able to be independent and make enough money to raise her and her family and not require the dependence on a man for that. Work mentorship, developing with any potential insecurities, our own self-preservation, and physical and mental health and well-being. So if you're thinking that you might be interested in having a mentor to guide you through your growth in the construction industry, I would love to be able to help you. So come join me with Leading Ladies. So again, thank you so much for being here today. Have an amazing end of your month, and we will talk with you later.